Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do
and do tech good.
Hey, and speaking of doing tech good, we have a sponsor for the show this year, Pantheon.io. They are helping us do tech good until the end of this season and possibly the next season. So thank you, Pantheon. Pantheon supplies a platform for Drupal and for WordPress. They have dev, test, and live environments. You can easily back up your stuff automated every day. It's a really cool service. So go check it out at Pantheon.io.
Yeah, and Frederick knows that's good because he uses it.
Yeah, I use Pantheon every day. I pretty much live in Pantheon a good portion of my day. So yeah, I enjoy Pantheon. So thanks, Pantheon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have you been nominated as a hero yet, by any chance?
I actually am. Yeah, I'm starting to build up my profile on Pantheon right now.
Woo! That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, I really enjoy evangelizing Pantheon. Good stuff.
Oh. Well, maybe you can share the love on here later on when you have that hero page up.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly will. And you know, we also need to thank Frontend Design Conference. Yes. Thank you, Gene. We were just there, right, Brian?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Met and hung out with some amazing people, some great talks. We did our first talk there, and it was, incredible. Frederick fell off the stage a couple times, but he got back up. Yeah, three times. And some amazing talks. Hung out with people afterwards. It's just great networking, and I was sad our guest actually wasn't there. But
I know. I was really sad not to be there.
Yeah, but yeah, appreciate Gene and all them having us out there, having us do the live stream and talk with all the speakers. It was great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frontend. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. We have designer, front-end developer, Nicole Dominguez. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited to talk to you. Yeah, I think I know I met you at least at Front-End Design Conference a few years ago. I'm not sure where everybody else knows you from.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah, I think the conference, I've been going for a few years. Actually, like when I was a teenager, I had found out about it and I wasn't old enough to go by myself. So I tried to convince my mom to take me. Now, she didn't really understand, and I didn't know how to explain, I want to go to this conference. So I've been dying to go for such a long time, and I ended up going finally as an adult, and I had kept going ever since. So except for this last year, I missed it.
Yeah, a few of us on Twitter have written how we missed you there.
Yeah, it's not that I wanted to miss it, but actually I was co-organizing a conference in Denmark, and I had only 3 or 4 days between that flying back and then front end. So I couldn't make it work just with all the flying and traveling and just organizing that conference. I kind of missed out.
This is the Django conference, right?
Yeah, the Django conference. So DjangoCon Europe, there's a US version and then the European version. So I helped out with the European version and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's so cool. Let's dive into that a little bit later. I think why don't we first build up a little bit and get to know you for people that might not know your story and all that and what you're doing. You're freelancing right now, is that right?
Yeah, I'm a freelancer consultant, so I kind of do front-end development and UI design stuff for clients. So it can kind of range between any part of the spectrum. It really depends on the project. But yeah, so right now I am winding down some projects and starting some new ones. So one of them is starting kind of this week called the Shorty Awards. They are an award show for social media. I used to work there and now I'm kind of freelancing because I'm so familiar with the website, I built half of it. So it's really easy for me to come in and make changes and make updates. So the show is actually tomorrow. So I have a lot of work to do today and deploying and updating the site and stuff like that to get ready for tomorrow. But that's a front end / back end thing. It's on Django and I'm really familiar with Django. So I'm doing a bunch of back-end work in addition to front-end work and design work. All the things.
And Django,
you're literally a superhuman.
And Django's it's Python, right?
Yeah. It's a web framework built on Python. And at that job, this was 5-6 years ago maybe, is where I was introduced to it and really learned it. So I'm kind of happy to be going back and fixing all my mistakes in code and stuff like that.
Is that your preferred
Aw.
place to live in? Do you really enjoy that technology over others, or?
I do, yeah, and I've had the privilege of working with Django for the majority of my professional career up to now. Like my previous long-term contracting gig was with a company called Lincoln Loop, and they are like Django experts, and they're a really big player in the Django space. I was really happy. I was so excited to just apply because I read it and I was like, this describes me perfectly. Like a designer doing. The title was like UI developer, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I am. I can't wait to do this. And so I was kind of hired immediately, and I've been working with them the past year. And so we do like contracting work for clients. Like I've done client work for UNICEF, Planned Parenthood with them. So it's been a really nice gig. But the work is kind of shifting, so I'm moving on to other things now. But yeah, I prefer the Django space.
You're like changing the world with code, like legitimately changing the world.
Sometimes. I try.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff for Planned Parenthood that we were doing is kind of like, we did a voter guide. So I did like, the designers would give us mock-ups, and I would be the one to kind of do all the front end work and then hand that to back-end developers. So I was kind of like the only person doing that. So that was really fun to work on like animations and just like implementing their design and working on a design system and kind of creating things for end users. Like the last project I just did for them is like doing a quiz. So creating tools for anyone on this at the organization to create quizzes, like what's the right birth control for me or something like that. Kind of like instead of creating one quiz, it's a system to create as many quizzes as they wanted. So that was fun too, to make like a reusable system in Django. And we also did Vue, so that was nice. So
what do you you said it's your preferred system to work in? Why?
The Django space, everyone is just so nice and so welcoming and so kind. And I think just interacting with people at conferences and stuff like that kind of made me realize like this is where I feel most comfortable, but also because that's where I was able to learn the most back-end development type of work at my previous job. So I just kind of fell into it and stayed there. Like I ended up starting I ended up co-running the Django meetup in New York and also doing Django Girls. So as that kind of went on, I just kept going further and further. I never got into like Rails or anything like that because in my career and my jobs, I've just never been afforded that chance, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I played around with it back, I think almost when it first came out. I remember really liking the back end of it, the interface, like the pre-built interface that came with it.
Yeah, the admin.
Yeah, the admin was really nicely designed. So how hard is it? How approachable is it?
For me, it was easy to understand. Like my boss at the time was like, I'll teach you all you want to know, but you have to do the tutorial first. Like you have to read the documentation. I didn't want to, and so I ended up doing it anyway. And it was not hard. Like they do a really good job of explaining, how it works and how to set it up. And after I did it, I was super engrossed in it just because I had a code base to refer to. Like it wasn't like I was inventing a project out of the sky. Like if I wanted to learn how models worked and how the database worked, I could just look at the project we were working on and fiddle with it and kind of understand, okay, this is how this function works, this is how that works. And so that really made a big difference because I was implementing all that I was learning every day. It wasn't like it was some side project that I only got to learn on the weekends. It was kind of like an everyday thing. I was pair programming. I was doing all that stuff. So, and also too, the community itself is approachable. Like there's this whole Django Girls organization where we do one-day workshops where we teach women not necessarily how to code, but like kind of showing them that code and development is approachable. So in one day, you go from not knowing anything about anything to like deploying a web app, which is kind of crazy because there's a lot that happens, but the stuff is written so well and there's so much time and resources that go into it that it is approachable enough where anyone can do that. Even my mom did it once. So how did
that work out?
It was good. It was at Django conference in Philadelphia maybe like a few years ago, and she met me in Philadelphia to like do some traveling, and then I was like, I'm volunteering at this thing, you should just come and do the tutorial. And then after that, like she was like, I know the terminal. I was like, yes you do.
That's awesome.
So I mean, gosh, that makes now, but I think it did increase like awareness of like what I do and like kind of more programming concepts.
That's super awesome. Yeah, I've heard Pythonista on iPad. Actually, you're able to install Django, or I always want to say Django, and run it on from an iPad and like develop for it. So it's it's very accessible on like every platform, which is pretty cool.
Do you mind if I ask you, Nicole, what's some of the advantages of it over any other technology? Like if you could name like 2 things.
The thing about Python is that it's very universal. Like if you know Python, you can go straight into a web app. You can do like scraping. You can do data, I don't know what stuff. So it's not just like where you learn this language, like you're stuck on the web. You kind of take that and go a lot of places. So a lot of people know Python, so they feel comfortable going to something like Django instead of something like Rails, just because that familiarity with the language is there. But also Django is like, it's not a super tiny framework, but it gives you just enough to get going easily. Like it comes with authentication. It comes with, you know, it comes with the admin. It comes with all these things where you can kind of get going pretty fast. And then also on top of that, there's this really good ecosystem just of the packages that are available and maintainers that work on it and volunteers and just conferences where there's a lot going on where you can kind of find a package for virtually anything and you kind of get going really fast. And also I like it because it's not opinionated about your front end. Like you can choose to just make an API and to have like a JavaScript front end, or you can go to have templates and have that as your front end. You know, they're not opinionated about like, you must use an asset pipeline, you must use Sass. Like there's none of that in it. You have the choice if you want to use Sass, if you want to use Stylus, if you want to just use plain CSS, you know, whereas Rails, I felt like you were kind of like pipelined into Sass.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense.
Go ahead. No, sorry.
Go for it. It's okay.
Yeah, it's funny you say that though, because I noticed now that like Rails is starting to go down that path, but Python and Django has been that forever. And Python was my first language really that I used. I built a plugin for an app called Blender, the 3D application, and everything was Python. So it's the first language, and I never really went back to it after that, sadly, because the HTML, CSS, there's so much to learn. Technology is amazing.
Yeah, and people also get to experience Python in high school and college too. So I think that kind of helps with the whole ecosystem thing where so many people are using Python and it's not like a scary language to them. I think that helps with the accessibility.
Yeah, it's definitely approachable. Go ahead.
Do you think that kind of helps with that, you know, you had like a whole movement of being a digital nomad. Do you think that kind of like, you know, freedom to be the kind of developer you could be helped with growing that kind of, you know, way to work?
I don't know if Python specifically did that per se, but it did open the doors in terms of like, for example, the first time I ever went to Europe was for a Django conference. You know, that was like my reason, excuse to go. So that kind of opened doors there. But I suppose it does do some in terms of my marketability to clients, or it's just easier to get gigs sometimes. But I don't know if I can say like, yeah, Python is the reason I did this. But I don't know. I've also had a long career, so I feel like that plays into the hireability as well. So, I mean, I don't really know exactly. I think it's a lot of different things that kind of play into the traveling. I don't know if that answers your question.
Do you mind if I ask you, since Janelle brought this up, it's a really interesting topic that I know you've been asked about a lot, is how did you get into this digital nomad situation? How you're traveling the world. From my understanding, you left with your mom to a different country and to Mexico. Okay, so you left to Mexico and you've been traveling ever since. And you know, you come into the States here and there. But what was the reason to start traveling?
I was having a quarter life crisis, which I have like once a year. And when I am in that kind of feeling of like, what do I do with my life? I start running. So at that time, I was maybe like 21 or something. I was so young. I'd only taken like one other international trip because my roommate at the time was a photographer. He's still he was in China like 2 days ago. He's still traveling like crazy. So he was doing like a mileage run, and he asked if I wanted to go. He said, I have really cheap tickets to Singapore. Do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm not doing anything else. I'll go to Singapore with you. And I felt comfortable because it was a good friend of mine, and I knew like he wouldn't let me get like lost or anything like that. I was like 20 at the time. I don't think I was old enough to drink. So we went to Singapore, and that kind of really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, this is not that hard. This is not that scary. People speak English lots of places. I can work from here. And so that kind of made me feel more comfortable with the idea of like traveling as a whole. Like before that, I was never that interested in going anywhere. I don't know why. I was just like learning how to adult at the time. And so after that, kind of that put the idea in my head a little bit. And I also had met other digital nomads too. I kind of like asked them a million questions, like, how do you do this? How does it work? And then so at the same time, right? So after that, I was in crisis, and I decided, okay, I had like a breakdown at work, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna sell my stuff, and I'm gonna leave because I can't do this anymore. And so that's what sparked it. And since then, yeah, my mom was also like some really crisis. She was also like her job, and she started doing design work, not freelance, but kind of like entrepreneurial. Like she has an Etsy store and does graphic design work. And so I was like, let's just go somewhere because we can work from our laptops. And so yeah, we went to Mexico, and that kind of kicked off the whole 3 years of an adventure that it's been.
Yeah, that's awesome to start your journey with family. It's very, I would say, very special to begin that part of your life with someone like that.
Yeah, it helped a lot too because she spoke better Spanish than I did. So I mean, eventually in the past 2 years, I have picked up my Spanish a lot better. But at the time, I was kind of like embarrassed and didn't really know left from right. And I was like, help. So it was really good that she was there because at least we could get around and we weren't like seen as tourists really. And because she did speak really good Spanish, it was just easier to fit in better kind of with the locals and not because I've never been to a resort. We don't do that stuff. I've never done a cruise. We always do the Airbnb local town route, and we were kind of like make friends with locals. So that's how we like to travel, and that really helped just because the first country we went to was like a majorly Spanish speaking country. So yeah, I'm really glad that she is there to like make it less scary.
Well, you really absorb the texture of your surroundings when you do that, and by immersing yourself in the culture. And I think one of the great things that probably maybe affected your work is being out of that local bubble that we all kind of live in, where we're in some kind of city, whether that's St. Pete, San Francisco, what have you, but being able to travel and have those kind of life experiences, those life textures really brings something different to your understanding of accessibility, like looking at how people use different devices around other countries or bandwidth, or just how people interact with certain kinds of patterns. Do you mind kind of going into a little bit of those experiences and how those changed your work for the better?
Yeah, totally. You're right. It was so eye-opening to realize and experience like 3G internet, not being able to just like load like my banking page or like an important app like Google Maps. Like that was really eye-opening in terms of just like bandwidth and speed in general. Like even if I got the best cell phone plan, there's still some areas in Mexico where it's so remote, like you're not getting any coverage whatsoever. And if you do get coverage, it's you can hardly do anything, and even just like even at cafes, like my mom ended up buying a house there, and where we bought the house in Tulum, the infrastructure is not suitable to really do remote working. It's not the kind of place where I don't even think there's a co-working space, so that really opened my eyes in terms of like how people who live there every day, their whole lives, interact with the internet and even technology as a whole. Like there was no Apple store, there was no Best Buy, there was, those things don't exist. Like, and even other parts of Mexico too, like Mexico City, you can buy your electronics on the street from a street dealer, and it's like a person that has like a whole tent and like lined with Chinese knockoffs of like headphones and chargers, and like that's the accessibility of technology. Yeah, there are stores like Walmart, but those are the places you see every day, almost like a bodega. And they line the streets sometimes, and sometimes that's the easiest way to get a cable or a charger or a case or whatever, instead of where, if it were me, I would just go to eBay, or Amazon. But it doesn't exactly work the same way there. So that was also eye-opening. And also too, like just seeing like, for instance, the mobile internet packages that were offered. It was the lowest packages had a little bit of data, and the majority of the data you got maybe unlimited for WhatsApp. Instead of
Absolutely.
unlimited data, you had unlimited WhatsApp, and that's how people communicate. And that was also really eye-opening too, because like once I started traveling, I switched to only WhatsApp because it's any device. You can have iPhone or Android, doesn't change the experience at all. You get that two-way communication with like read notifications and also phone calls. And that's how you can talk for free. Like if I was in Mexico and wanted to call my family in the States, I'd use WhatsApp because otherwise my phone carrier would just charge me so much.
Yeah, international fees,
Yeah, so that's how the majority of people who kind of have families abroad or whatever communicate. And that was like, wow, like I went from iMessage to WhatsApp for that reason, because it was just so impactful and serious. And even just like walking on the street and seeing like signs written on cardboard for the cell phone store, and it's saying like, yeah, unlimited WhatsApp for this amount of money, but like 1 gig of data. And I was like, whoa, like where the packages were focused on these apps. It was like maybe like a social media package, or it was like Facebook, WhatsApp, but I don't know what else, for free.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to prevent in the US. And yeah, I've even heard stories. You mentioned Amazon and eBay. I've heard stories from friends about how shipping like is just a joke in most countries. Like there's no tracking. It arrives when it arrives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's not so bad. Like I spent some time in Germany and Berlin. It's actually their Amazon, their lockers. So that's nice, where at least the package will get there and you know where it is. But in Mexico, where our house is, we don't have an address. I've had people ask, like, because we do Airbnb, I've had people ask their address. I'm like, I don't have one. I can't give you that. I can give you a pin on a map. That's what we have. We have never gotten a single piece of mail ever.
Oh wow!
Because there's no number on the house. That doesn't exist on where the house is. It's like a lot in the middle of the jungle, and our road is not even paved.
Wow!
Like it's that kind of remote.
It's nice though. You get away from it all.
Exactly, and that's what it's a vacation rental for that reason. But the infrastructure, like you said, is a joke. I don't even know if I wanted to order an Amazon package. I don't know how I would do it. I have no idea. I would just have to buy it in Miami and fly back and forth. Because the flight is only 1 hour, so it's easy to do that. But other than that, I don't know.
Is there a concept like post office boxes that you could do? Like, I have a post office box over at the store.
In Mexico, there is, in Tulum, which is the tiny town where we have the house in, there's one travel agency that will accept your packages, but it's not like post office. It's not like it's not run by the government, like that stuff. No, I've seen a post office. I don't know where they deliver. I don't know. Maybe you pick up your packages there, but whatever it is, it's not like a widely seen concept, because I still don't even know. Like we have friends who've lived there their whole lives, and I don't even know how they get mail. Like mail is just not a thing in that area. And that's why I mentioned the whole, you buy your technology off the street from like people who buy stuff from China, because sometimes that's the only accessibility you have in terms of like day of, and not waiting for shipping or even driving somewhere far away to find technology.
Do you have any kind of stories about or narrative that include some of your experiences out of the country that were applicable to a project you were working in within the last, say, 6 months?
I don't think so, just because my work is remote regardless. So like, for instance, with Lincoln, my last contract, everyone that worked there was remote. I had colleagues in France, in Germany, in the Netherlands, in the US, anywhere, so because we were so remote, the actual project, like where the project was, didn't matter as much. But no, I don't know if I can say anything in the last 6 months, but I definitely meet people abroad. Like I'm pretty good at networking and connecting with people. So I definitely have leads and gigs that do come from that, but it's not specific to like, I went to Mexico and I did a project in Mexico or anything like that.
Yeah, that must be great, because you get to, excuse me, Brian, because you get to build a lot of your, probably your clientele or people that you said that you freelance with from all these different locations, literally around the world.
Yep. Yeah. I had an inquiry from someone the other day that I met in Mexico. Yeah. And even just friends too. Like I have friends that I met I met in Mexico that I met up with in Germany, that we traveled to Amsterdam, that we did like a Euro trip type thing. And it's just kind of crazy how I don't think we planned to be at the same time, but we were there at the same time. And because I have these connections from all over the world, it was, you know, that kind of grows and extends, and, you know, you kind of build friendships that last. And, you know, maybe I met them at a conference and it turned into like this long friendship, and where we did some traveling together. We met up in another continent and stuff like that. So yeah, in terms of that, I do really enjoy traveling for that reason, because when you leave America, you just kind of realize like how different things are, and why we build for accessibility, and why we build responsibly, and why performance is important. Because without that, I mean, I was doing it beforehand, but I didn't understand like fully why.
Yeah.
And then once I started traveling, I was like, oh, okay, this is why it's important. I need to really make sure like our images are as small as possible, you know, stuff like that, because I know the pain of like trying to load a website and not loading ever.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've always thought doesn't make sense about the direction actually the web's been going, where it's becoming more client like processing intensive instead of server. So now the person needs to have a good computer, needs to have good internet, needs to like it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Are there any challenges that you've had with, you know, being like a nomad, like, you know, things like insurance and your health and you know, the internet connection you're talking about, like, you know?
Yeah, actually health insurance, I was really lucky. I found a company that does international health insurance, which is fantastic.
Ooh.
Honestly, I like got hurt in Mexico. I like broke my foot or whatever. I had to go to the emergency room, and the whole thing was covered. So it actually was cheaper than what I was paying in New York, and it covers me in any state, in any country, for anything.
Oh, wow.
Like to be medically evacuated, to even if I just need like prescription just to see a doctor. So I was really lucky that I did a lot of research to find it, but once I found it, I was just lucky enough to qualify and that I could afford it. And I still have it now that I'm in the States. They cover me for 6 months out of the year. My year just started in May, so I have another 6 months of that, and I might just stay with it because I can go to any state, you know, and be covered and be able to go to the hospital, even just to see like a primary doctor. Like the concept of states is not a big thing for this specific insurance.
Who is
Stigma Worldwide.
Oh, okay.
So they have a huge network here in the States too.
Wow.
Like in the States, it's billed as a PPO. So as long as there's someone in network, I can go, and I've seen the primary doctor. I've gotten prescriptions, anything, you know, it's like normal insurance. And I've done in Florida and New York, you know, so I really like that. So that hasn't been a huge challenge, but it has been a challenge in terms of like, sometimes you don't know what doctor you can go to. Like I've gone to a lot of doctors in Mexico for like various things. And sometimes you have to do your research in terms of like finding someone that can help you, because it's not, this medical system is not the same. Like sometimes in Mexico, it's still more privatized. Like if you can afford it is when you go to the better doctor. Like, so stuff like that, I have to kind of find the right person, or if the help I get initially is maybe not the answer, and I have to kind of keep going and find the answer. But medical care is available. Like if you have a basic problem, like something you go to urgent care for, over there, the really cool thing is you can go to most pharmacies and see a doctor for $2. And they can like just give you advice on like, oh, you have this stomach problem, we think you should take this. I mean, it doesn't answer your problem necessarily if it's a bigger issue. They can't really run diagnostic tests, but you do get like an opinion from a professional if it's something like a cold or a flu or something like that. So that was always really cool just to have that available. Like one time I got like a rash from like a plant or something, you know, and they were able to just like really quickly, like at Walmart, offer like advice. Oh, you think you should take this, take it once a day, etc., stuff like that. But in terms of problems, yeah, like I didn't really realize it until recently, but like productivity has been a big issue for me. And only when I moved back to New York, and started, like I got a co-working space, and I realized how not productive I was previously, and how hard it was to even just like bill 3 or 4 hours worth of work. Whereas now I can come to my co-working space and be productive from like 10 to like 8, you know, like I can have a really long day and I'm not tired. I'm not, you know, like, because I'm not moving around and I'm not worried about the internet. I'm not worried about like my keyboard or whatever, like, or power. Sometimes power is a problem, or Wi-Fi is a problem. Or even like most co-working spaces, like I have an app that gives me access to a lot of co-working spaces in a lot of different countries. And even with that, they would close early. In Denmark, I think they close at like 4:30 or 5. And like, that's the middle of my productive time, you know? So then you kind of stuck. Like I had major problems in Denmark just being able to work, because when I was there over Easter, and everything shuts down. The library shut down. I was like, I didn't even know how I was going to work. So that was also an issue. And it's true, like a lot of times with nomading, like more other countries are more religious, and that's kind of more part of the fabric of the culture. Whereas here it is, but it's also not. You know, like we learn the concept of like separation of church and state kind of thing. So it doesn't affect us, I think, as much as it would elsewhere. And like also in Germany, everything is closed on Sundays. No supermarkets are open.
Not just Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, like in order to find a supermarket that's open, you have to like go to like the train station and go to like the supermarket in the train station. It's bad. So things like that were hard to deal with. Just like learning like cultural differences and how people live and expectations. Like in Berlin, I lived in Berlin for a few months. You go shopping at the supermarket like every other day. It's not like you go to Publix, you get a huge cart worth of stuff, and you go once a week like that, because you have to carry it home. You know,
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of cool, but also like hard to learn at first. Sorry, the charge.
Yeah, no problem. So are you looking to be more located in the States now going forward for like another X amount of years? Or are you looking to get back to traveling abroad?
Yeah, so I kind of decided recently that I want to take a break from traveling for a year or so, only because I just need to catch up on work, health, etc., and financially as well too. Like last year I had a problem, like legally I needed a restraining order. I was going through harassment and stuff like that. So that was so expensive for me. It kind of put me in a really deep hole. So I'm trying to just work to get out of the hole, with all not the court fees, but there's lawyer fees and like time that I couldn't be working because I was in and out of court 5 times, things like that, that I had to go through. So after that experience, I kind of just want to come back to the States and not be abroad, because it was so difficult to get help abroad. Yeah, it was really difficult to get help. Like
That's crazy.
I have a restraining order, so this person can't contact me, and they were contacting me nonstop, and they knew that because I wasn't in the States, I could not get help, and I was being harassed on Twitter, via the phone, and I called the police and called the police and called the police so many times. They told me stop calling because there's nothing they can do for me if I'm not physically there. And then I got fed up, and so I left Germany. I was like, I gotta go back and just get help legally. And I went to the police the first thing, like the next day. They said, we can help you. You don't live in the state anymore. And they said, don't come back. You have to go to the state you live in. And I'm like, wow. I just got here like a day ago, you know? And then I went to I went to the police station where it happened. I went to my local police station. They're like, we can help you. This is from another state. And this is online. Like, there's nothing we could do for you. So that was so frustrating. I kind of decided, like, I got to fix my problems. I have to, like, stay here. And not only that, but just work. Like, once I kind of got here, I realized how much more productive I was just having an office, my space comes with monitors. I bring a keyboard, and with that, I could go all day. And in the past 3 years, I have not had the experience where I feel like I can work full time. I really thought, before I was not working full time, I was working part time. And now freelancing, I can do a 40-hour week. Before I was like, this is not possible. I don't know how I'm going to do this. So now I'm just kind of happy to be working and getting out of this hole that I'm in, and finding new work and new clients. And I kind of just want to take a break and go to the gym and like do all this stuff. Like, I'm trying to just work on myself in a million different ways. And I feel like I have to be here to do that, just with the system. Like, if I was to move abroad, for instance, like, I don't think I could qualify for German health insurance if I wanted to, you know. So that kind of things, that's where I felt like, in order to really meet these goals that I have and to fix my life and to stop running, like, that's another thing. Like I decided like, okay, I can't just keep running from all my problems. I have to like face them. And so that's another thing is like, I didn't have to travel because I was like, I don't need to run anymore to like feel better. That makes sense. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I like traveling still, but this last trip to Denmark, I was like, I'm not trying to do this for a long time. I don't want to get another plane for a long time. It's like I'm tired. I'm so tired of just like moving and moving and moving and not having stability, not having structure, not having basic stuff. Like I want a desk. I want a house with a desk. That's like my biggest dream in life right now. And so it's the most basic thing, but like I haven't had that in 3 years, you know, or more. So it's like I really want I want like normal for a little while, for a year or two, I think. Sorry,
it's so beautiful to see like, no, you're totally fine. I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
My internet is spotty because I'm currently in Nicaragua. So the internet is not great over here. It's so beautiful to actually see like how you go through life, you know, even through like social media, right? Like you're very open and you're like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or like, hey, look at my awesome hair day. Like I'm having a beautiful, fantastic hair day. These are my curl products. Like, let's talk about it, right? Like it's so beautiful to see like your kind of just so personable, right? And you want everyone to know like, you know, your good days, your bad days. Like, how do you go about doing that? And do you recommend that to other people?
It's hard because I've dealt with good things and bad things as a result of that. I have to be very careful about what I say now just because of the harassment. Like I can't always say where I am because I just don't feel that safe all the time. But in general, it's helped me because that's my personality. You know, I've always been that way. And also Twitter for me is how I communicate with friends. It's a very social place for me personally because I kind of grew up on it. I'm 24 now. I'm almost 25, but I've been on Twitter since the past 11 years, something like that. And so that's my whole career has kind of been not based on it, but if without it, I would be in a different place. I would not be here. Majority of my clients, majority of my jobs have been networking through Twitter and things like that. So that's why it's important to me. And being personable and being some of the visibility where I'm talking about more than just code really, really helps in terms of building those connections and getting that work. Like if I only tweeted about CSS, I don't think would have gotten the work I've gotten just in terms of building personal relationships, being able to bond over things like hair products and curl days with certain people. And so I think that does help in that sense. And it's not like I'm not doing this just for the business. Like for me, my business is very personal. I don't run my business like everyone else runs their business. It's more of an extension of me in my life, right? But it does help, and it's a cycle, and it kind of all feeds into each other. The traveling, the everything. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. But also, I wouldn't be here without everyone else sharing stuff on Twitter too. Like at the time when I was learning how to code, I was 12, 13, and getting on Twitter helped me understand the wide landscape of the internet, you know, just because in South Florida, there was no tech scene where I was living at the time. There was no meetup. There was no conference. There wasn't anything for me to be able to do in-person networks. So I had to kind of do it online. And without other people sharing what they knew, I don't think I would be here. And even with the personal struggles too, like maybe a year or two ago, I saw someone I knew had talked about their mental health struggles, and they talked about needing medication. And I was like, I think I need to see a doctor. I think I need to get help in this arena because maybe this is the answer to my problems. and it was, you know, I ended up going to see psychiatrists and therapists, and I see someone weekly now over Skype. It's amazing. And I am on medication, and I did a 180 in my life. I did a 180 just in terms of like my energy. Like I don't want to be in bed all day. Whereas before I wanted to be in bed all day. I couldn't even work a full day. I couldn't have the energy. It's not like I didn't want to, I couldn't. And so just in dealing with depression and being on antidepressants really changed my life. So, and that was with Twitter. You know, that was like a really shocking like moment where I felt like without that, I don't know if I would have gotten help. I don't know if I would have found the strength to like see someone. So
It's interesting the stigma around mental health that we have in the United States and how people kind of have these weird concepts about it sometimes, not all the time,
Yeah.
but sometimes within corporate America, people look at that as maybe a weakness or something like that. But the thing is, we all have our issues. We all have things, and we need to embrace people and not put up these kind of cardboard tanks that, oh, I'm this, I'm that. But it's, we all have to deal with life, and we all have our strife, and we all have things that come up. And to echo Janelle's point, I think it's great that you echo out a lot of the things that you go through, and it helps others go through the same things.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like because I was able to be self-taught, but with resources that other people put out, it's my duty to do the same thing and continue the cycle, because without the internet, without open source, without this like open idea of sharing, I just don't feel like I'd be here. And I'm so grateful to just have this career that I have and have been doing it half my life. And, it kind of got me out of where I'm from and put me into this path that I would not have otherwise been able to take on. So that's why it's important. But yeah, to go back to the mental health thing, at the time, I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know at all what it felt like, who had it, who went through it, how they get help. That was not a concept because it's not talked about, and I didn't go to college or anything like that. So a lot of my learning and my experience has to come from Googling and research and Twitter and things like that.
Googling.
All of the Googling. So, so I don't feel like I've necessarily had a stigma about it, but there is a stigma in our culture where people don't talk about it. And that's why it was I didn't know about at the time, and I think it does need to be more talked about, just in the media, in movies, and everything, in everyday life.
Well, right now we're running a little smidge low on time, and by we I mean literally me, because I have to jump on a bus and go. But I wanted to start off some lightning rounds, if that's okay.
Hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does this work, Janelle?
So this is the lightning round. Okay, so essentially what happens is we just like kind of yell really, really loud questions at you. Just all rapidly. And you just answer them. Yeah, we yell them at the top of our lungs. I don't know if you know this. This is a new thing. It just started just now. So we essentially ask you all the questions that we couldn't ask you, during this whole shebang, right? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I will start. What is your favorite hair care product?
Cantu curling cream, but the kids version, not the adult version, because it's softer.
Favorite cartoon as a kid?
I liked PBS. I was like a smart kid.
Yeah. Favorite cereal or cereal you enjoy?
I don't eat cereal. I don't enjoy it. I don't like milk. I will eat it with peanut butter though. Like I'll dip a spoon in peanut butter and then dip it into dry cereal and then eat it. But that's the only way I eat it.
That sounds good.
If you could only bring one thing on a desert island, what would it be?
My computer.
What's
I don't know.
your favorite thing about yourself?
Myself?
Favorite thing about yourself?
This melanin. I mean, come on. Over the years, I've learned to kind of love myself in more and more ways, but I'm kind of glad to just be like different and diverse and like the way, I don't know. I love my curls. I love my skin color, all this stuff. So I think just the melanin is a major thing.
Tacos or sushi?
I love that.
Yeah.
Brian, that's all you.
Come on, Brian.
What? Oh, did I not come through? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Tacos or sushi?
Tacos. I don't like seafood. Tacos every day, all day.
All day.
Literally, yeah.
Do you remember your first line of code? And if you do, what was it?
Yeah, I had like a pet page on Neopets, and then after that I had a cute news PHP blog on someone else's domain, and it was like HTML and CSS and PHP for that blog at like literally 12 years old. So that was my first foray into the internet.
Nicole, you come home, picture it. It's late. It's
All right.
stormy. It's okay. See you, Janelle.
Bye,
Bye.
Janelle. Love you.
I'm living with
Doesn't
my
freak
uncle.
out. Just turns on the lights. Love
I'm
it.
living with my uncle right now, and he's a stuntman. So we have a ton of like stunts, TV, film stuff around the house. Like there's literally like an arm, just an arm by itself, with blood on it, like on the dining table, and stuff like that is not weird to me because like we have the wigs and all around the house, all kind of filming prop stuff. So I would just probably assume it was like a prop and turn on the lights.
Nice. I like that. That's a fair enough answer. Absolutely apropos.
Yeah.
I like
Brian,
that.
do you want to do your question?
I actually want to do well, no, actually, no. Let's not this week. I don't really have one this week.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Sounds like you have something in mind, though.
I wanted to re-ask the Sesame Street question because I'm curious what she, but we've already answered it. Have you heard that? Did you hear that episode? Have you seen that tweet about who would you rather be stuck at a desert island with? Elmo, Cookie Monster, Grover, or Oscar the Grouch?
Cookie Monster, because he'd know where to find the snacks. Hello. It's a deserted island.
Yeah, we chose Oscar when I asked it previously, and I just think because he's got like a Mary Poppins trash can essentially, he's pulled like ladders and all sorts of things.
Doctor Who.
Yeah, so it's clearly like a TARDIS, definitely. Yeah.
Nicole, we're just about at the end of the show. I'd like to provide you an opportunity to give some kind of words of wisdom, any kind of final information you like to hand off to the audience. Anything that you like to say to people to help inspire them.
Deep, meaningful.
Doesn't need to be existential.
Really.
Yeah, something that has been helping me recently, not even in tech, but has been like to be for me, I kind of want to spread like intentionality. I think in order to get anywhere, you have to be really intentional about what you want to do. And that's been working for me just in my personal life and having affirmations and just having, showing up every day for myself, for others, for the things I want to do. Because I realized like being self-employed, nothing will happen unless I do it. Like the paychecks won't come unless I send invoices, unless I do the work, stuff like that. So being intentional about anything and everything that's important to you. And that it does apply to code. If you think about, if you're learning how to code, you kind of have to do it every day. You have to be intentional about learning, be intentional about networking, about meeting people, that kind of thing. So that's a major
I love
thing.
that. That's beautiful.
I love
Hard
that.
lesson to learn, but
yeah,
I got it.
Yeah, that takes the context of time. So great. How can people find out more about you? What's your website address? What's your Twitter handle?
I'm very easily Googleable. My website is just my name, so NicoleDominguez.com. My Twitter handle is so devious. It's 2 words, but really 1 word.
Ooh,
People ask, like, so
what's the
I
story
was
behind
like, not even 13, or like 11 or 12, and like we had a hamster. And I was like in the car with my mom, like, what should my website be? And we were just like thinking. And I was like, yeah, we'll just name it So Devious because like our hamster like escapes a lot and he's like a devious hamster. And like that's literally how it came out.
That's
literally,
great.
which is absurd because like this is like a professional thing for me now, I'm, like adult, and I don't even like explaining to people how it came, because it's so.
Well, at least it's not like I don't know, Star Sparkle 6798 or something.
Yeah, I'm really happy there's no numbers anywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I still know as adults that have email addresses like something 2014. So
Yeah,
I think that's why it's lasted so long, because it's not unprofessional, but it's not professional.
No, it's fun.
Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, I tweet a lot, and yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll put links to those obviously in the show notes. Nicole, thank you so much for being on the show. Super appreciate you sharing your time and a lot of the learnings and being a digital nomad and sharing your life with us. Yeah,
thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's always great to talk with you, and I hope next year or soon that we can hang out. And
I'm trying to move. I'm trying to get a job and trying to move. So we'll see what happens.
Well, we'll see Nicole in St. Pete coming
Awesome.
soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Take care.
Thanks.
And we're out. What did you think?